Previously on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Hey, what's up? I'm unownshadow. This is Eleanor. This is Colorado. We're on the freeway, so apparently that means I'm on a bigger bike. This week is technically part 2 of helping this bike breathe a little bit more. In the previous video, I actually did an install, swapping out the stock filter for a DNA filter, and then removing the snorkel. The purpose of both of those mods was to help get a little more air into the engine. Like a lot of bikes, especially these days, all the electronics and everything, and with emissions requirements, especially worldwide, bikes have a tendency to run fairly lean. And so really swapping out that filter with something a little bit more breathable, taking out that snorkel, allowing more air into the intake, is just going to help that overall. One issue with a lot of these 1200 Triumphs is that at the lower revs, they have a tendency to lug, namely because they're running so lean at that point. With the partially open throttle, you know, the ECU's kind of backing off and only allowing us, you know, it's allowing enough fuel to get in to get the bike off the line, but it's being fairly restrictive at that. And so what I've done this week is I went and installed the speed booster that I've seen a lot of people talk about onto the bike. All it does is it plugs into the injection sensor, and then it has a temperature probe that you install kind of right into the air box. And what it attempts to do is trick the ECU into thinking that the overall bike is about 10 degrees cooler than it actually is. And while you're at like higher speeds, if you're doing wide open throttle and you have everything, the bike just kind of pushing, it won't matter so much. But at those revs, when you're like, you know, you're sitting there at a stoplight and you finally get a chance to go, you pull back, right there is where the engine's kind of going to restrict how much fuel is in there and how much fuel is helping you kind of start up. And so what the speed booster is going to do is it's going to tell the engine, oh, hey, you probably should add a little bit more fuel in there. So what we're doing now is just kind of testing that out, coming over here into Boulder, where I know I'm going to hit lights, and kind of seeing how the bike handles, especially at the low RPMs. So far I've only put a few miles on the bike with the speed booster installed, and really you can feel almost immediately the responsiveness, like, you know, as you're coming from a stop. In fact, pulling out of my neighborhood, it was a little surprising. I think I'm used to kind of gassing the bike a little bit more. I think I did the same normal pull that I normally would do, and the bike lurched a little bit more than I had expected. So it's definitely doing something. This connectivity thing is just crap. Right now my music is just cutting in and out. So I have my phone connected up to the connectivity, which is connected up to my Cardo, which is really the main way to do it so that you can see the music on there. But like right now, like the music's just popping in and out. I doubt my mic is picking it up, but I've never had that problem when I have my phone directly into the Cardo. It's like it's just slightly out of range, but I mean, it's hard to be out of range when you're barely a body's length away. Ugh. Oh, so if anybody's asking for a recommendation on the connectivity kit, don't do it. Not really worth it. Yeah, that thing's got zip at those low gears. That's pretty awesome. No hesitation at all. Nice. So while I'm kind of putting this through, I should talk a little bit about the installation. I seem to be a broken record. You know, it's another easy install. In the last video, I showed how to swap out the filter and the snorkel. Neither of those very difficult. You can go and check out that video. I'll have the video linked up there somewhere, and probably linked down below. The only real gotcha with the air filter is that there's so much that you have to get out of the way just to get access to the air filter. All the relays and that whole panel on the side, that's a pain in the ass to have to kind of make your way through. I mean, I get it. They're trying to fit a whole lot of stuff into this little, you know, into little spots, but it was not as streamlined as I think it should have been. And the snorkel was simple. I mean, the main part is getting under that stupid plastic phone holder, but otherwise it's just prying that out. And those two are actually, like, even without the speed booster, easy enough to get in there and do that. The snorkel's a free one. And you know, give your engine a little bit more air, not so bad of a thing. The speed booster was a little bit more of an involved install, mainly because you have to pull that the muffler off, the silencer off, and that's always a little bit of a pain. I do have an aftermarket header pipe, so it was a little bit tight getting it off of the header, getting the silencer off the header pipe, but stock silencer and an aftermarket header pipe, you just kind of have to deal with that. Interesting. Installing the speed booster is easy. It's just one plug. Unplug that and kind of tie it into the system. It's just trying to find the right places to put some of those cables. The temperature sensor needs to kind of be in the pathway of the air so that it can kind of get that reading and then make adjustments accordingly, or help make adjustments accordingly. One of the nicest, or one of the easier places to do that is right near the intake, you know, right where I took that snorkel off. The only real problem, of course, is getting it to stay in place. I was watching the Tech Bike Parts video, and what they had done was just used a zip tie and kind of tied it up right along that bracket that's there, that's holding the airbox, and just kind of keeping it in place that way. Being a little more anal retentive, I decided that I wanted something a little more solid there to hold it. And so I went and I 3D printed up a small little bracket that allowed me to run the cable through, hold it at a bit of an angle, zip tie it down, and just keep that in that line a little more securely. Pretty simple, just bolt it right on, and now you have a little bracket to hold that temperature sensor. What I hadn't realized was when I was kind of putting everything back together, there's that side cover that you have to put back on, and I didn't realize how tight that was. It's got a little bit of a curve to it to kind of fit so that the exhaust has a place to run. And with that little curve to it, that's right where I put the speed booster and all of its cables, and so it wouldn't quite push down. So I had to move those around a little bit. I found that if I snaked the most of the cables kind of back behind the airbox, it worked a lot better, and it let me kind of put that cover back on. After that, it's just put everything back together and done with that. Making changes to the air system, it's probably good to kind of reset the system. Again, kind of referencing the Tech Bike Parts video. Using their handy instructions, all I did was bike was stone cold. It hadn't been started in like well over 24 hours, and it was a little bit cooler as well, but stone cold. Powered the bike up, held in the clutch, don't touch the throttle at all, and started up the bike. And then as soon as the bike kind of started up, let the clutch go, and then just let the bike sit there for about 20 minutes. Really, you're waiting for the fan to kick in, which oddly enough happened right about 18 minutes or so. And at that point, the bike's kind of gone through a startup and just kind of idled itself. I may or may not have had a beverage during that time. And then just let it kind of sit there, do that. And then after that, shut it down, go for a ride, and kind of move through the RPMs and make sure the bike is kind of still responding, make sure everything is paying attention, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, doing some stop-and-go traffic through Boulder, I mean, this thing is definitely responding. haven't felt it lug at all. I haven't felt it struggle at low RPMs. It's just there when I when I tell it to go. So perfect. It's not no. So perfect. I meant okay, not anything else. Again, no problems with that at all. Some pretty easy mods, not overly expensive. I'll have links down below for the filter and for the speed booster that I picked up. All very simple to do. And I mean, immediate returns on power, so I'm very happy about that. But with that, we'll call this a video. With the speed booster and those changes, I mean, this bike is definitely a lot more responsive in those lower gears. Again, it's not going to affect your top speed. It's not going to affect like high throttle. It's mostly aimed at those lower portions, which if you're talking like off-road or jumping off logs or anything like that, or even just you're parked and you're trying to get off the line and through a light as fast as possible, that's when you're going to see this actually make a change, and it's a noticeable change. So I have some other videos coming up that I'm going to do with the monkey, probably some more rides. We're starting to, like, we're in fall now. We'll see how temperatures go and what all happens from there, but yeah, if there's anything in this video that you liked, you know, maybe like, subscribe, comment, do those things if you like to do those things. But in the meantime, hopefully you're having a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye.